I think I'll go to bed. Sarah kissed my cheek. Don't stay up too late. Don't worry, darling, Carol smiled at her daughter. I'll look after your husband. We were left alone in the kitchen of her house. After my father-in-law's death 2 years ago, Carol lived alone, and Sarah often insisted that we stay overnight. Tea? Carol asked, rising from the table. Yes, thank you. At 50, she had maintained her slenderness and grace. Her house dress softly hugged her figure. What are you thinking about? She placed a cup in front of me. About life. You know, sometimes it feels like everything's not going as planned. She sat across from me, holding her cup in both hands. And what exactly isn't going right? I don't know. I sipped my tea. Work, relationships. Everything seems fine, but something's missing. I looked at her in surprise. How do you know? I recognize that look, she smiled sadly. I had the same one before divorcing John. But you seemed like the perfect couple. On the outside, yes. But inside, you know what's the scariest thing about marriage? When you wake up one morning and realize there's a stranger next to you. She fell silent, looking out the window. Rain was drizzling behind the glass. Are things okay with you and Sarah? She finally asked. Yes, I guess. It just sometimes feels like we're speaking different languages. She's very much like her father. Same determination, same pragmatism. And you? I was always a dreamer. An artist trapped in a lawyer's body. I smirked. I can relate. I wanted to be a musician too. Really, I never knew. Played in a band in college. Dreamed of the big stage. What happened? Life happened. Had to make a living. I chose stability. And now you work at a bank. How did you guess? It's in your eyes. They hold so much longing for what could have been. We sat in silence. The clock struck midnight. More tea? She asked. Sure, but something stronger. She brought out a bottle of whiskey. I keep it for special occasions. Is this a special occasion? A night of revelations? Isn't that reason enough? The whiskey loosened our tongues. We talked about things usually left unsaid in families. You know, Carol twirled the glass in her hands, I always wanted to travel, see the world, paint landscapes. Why didn't you do it after the divorce? Fear, probably. The habit of stability, and Sarah needed me. She's still processing the divorce. I know, Carol sighed. That's why I try to be the perfect mother, although sometimes… What? Sometimes I just want to be myself. Not a mother, not a mother-in-law, not an ex-wife, just a woman. There was so much longing in her voice that my heart ached. And you? She poured me more whiskey. What do you dream about? Freedom, I guess. The ability to be myself, not meet expectations. Sarah expects a lot from you, as she does from herself. Sometimes I feel like she's living by some plan where every step is mapped out. A house in 5 years, children in 7, promotion in 10? Carol smirked sadly. Exactly, and I just want to live. And love. I looked at her. In the kitchen's dim light, her eyes seemed darker than usual. And love, I repeated quietly. You know what's the scariest thing? She moved closer. When you realize you're capable of a greater feeling, of real passion, but you're afraid to admit it even to yourself. Carol, sorry, maybe the whiskey is making me too honest. She stood up and walked to the window. The rain had intensified, drumming against the glass. No, I stood beside her. You're right. People usually stay silent about such things. Because it's dangerous? Because it's true. We stood so close that I could feel the warmth of her body. She smelled of something floral perfume, shampoo. Adam, she whispered, we shouldn't. I know, but we couldn't stop anymore. Something had broken, some inner barrier had collapsed. Sometimes, her voice trembled, I look at you and think, why? Why not at a different time, in a different life? I touched her hand. She didn't pull away. The storm intensified. Lightning flashes illuminated the kitchen, transforming ordinary objects into bizarre shadows. Should we turn on the light? Carol whispered. No, I was still holding her hand. This is more honest. In the darkness, it was easier to confess things that couldn't be spoken in daylight. You know, her voice trembled, I noticed you even before you started dating Sarah. At that corporate party, I remember, you were wearing a blue dress. You remembered? I remembered a lot of things. We stood by the window, close, too close. A thunderclap made Carol shudder. I instinctively embraced her. This is wrong, she whispered, but didn't move away. I know. Sarah's upstairs. I know. Her lips were so close. The whiskey clouded my mind. Or was it not the whiskey? What happened next was like falling. When you know you'll crash but can't stop anymore. Her lips were soft, tasting of whiskey. Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around my neck. We didn't turn on the light. Only lightning flashes illuminated what was happening, turning each touch into eternity. My fingers tangled in her hair. Time stopped, dissolved in this moment. The storm muffled the sounds of passion, and darkness hid our madness. At some point, she whispered my name, and it was like a prayer, or a curse. Our bodies merged into a single rhythm, as if they had always known each other. Somewhere upstairs, a floorboard creaked. We froze. "Mom? Adam?" Sarah's sleepy voice. "Everything's fine, honey," Carol replied in an amazingly calm voice. "Did the storm wake you?" "Yes, you're still not sleeping? We're just heading to bed. Just got caught up in conversation." Sarah's footsteps retreated. We looked at each other in the darkness. "God," Carol whispered, "what have we done?" I woke up to the smell of coffee. Outside it was gray and damp, typical morning after a storm. Sarah was still sleeping. In the kitchen, Carol was preparing breakfast. In the morning light, she seemed different, composed, businesslike. Only a slight paleness betrayed her sleepless night. "Good morning." Her voice was deliberately casual. "Good morning." "Coffee?" "Yes, thank you." We sat at the same table as last night. It was as if a glass wall had grown between us. "Adam," she put down the cup, "about what happened?" "I know, it didn't happen." "Exactly, never happened and could never happen." "Of course. We just had too much to drink, got too candid." "Yes, just alcohol and loneliness." She flinched. Don't make it trivial." "What should we call it then?" "Nothing, just forget it." We heard footsteps on the stairs. We moved away from each other. Coffee." Sarah entered the kitchen, sleepy and homey. "Are you already up?" "Your mother always gets up early." I tried to speak normally. "And you? When did you go to bed?" "Don't remember," I lied. "Got caught up in conversation." "What did you talk about?" Carol and I exchanged glances. "Life," she shrugged. "Nothing special." "Strange." Sarah poured herself coffee. "You never really talked much before." "Just never had the occasion." Carol stood up. "I'm going to shower. Need to get ready for work." When she left, Sarah looked at me. "Mom seems kind of tense." "Really? Didn't notice?" "And you seem different." "Just didn't get enough sleep." I avoided her gaze. How could I look into my wife's eyes after what I'd done? Before leaving, Carol kissed her daughter. "Come over next weekend." "Of course, right, honey?" "Sure." I tried not to look at my mother-in-law. "Adam," she extended her hand. "Thanks for the conversation." Her hand was cold. Or was mine ice cold? In the car, Sarah chatted about weekend plans. While I thought, how do I live with this now? How do I forget the touches, the whispers, the passion? My phone vibrated quietly. Message from Carol. "Sorry for everything." The week dragged on endlessly. I immersed myself in work, trying not to think about that night. It wasn't working. "Honey, don't forget, we're going to Mom's on Saturday," Sarah reminded me on Thursday. "Maybe we should postpone. I have a project." "You've been acting strange lately. Are you avoiding Mom?" "No, of course not. Just lots of work." But we had to go. Carol greeted us as usual. Smile, hugs, homemade lasagna. Only her eyes betrayed the tension. "Mom, you've lost weight," Sarah noticed. "Really? Probably just work." We sat at the table discussing ordinary things, work, weather, news. I tried not to look at Carol, but kept catching myself studying her hands, lips, neck. "Adam, pass the salt." Her fingers accidentally touched mine. I dropped the salt shaker. "You're so clumsy," Sarah laughed. "Yes, indeed." Carol stood up to clean the salt. "They say it's a sign of an argument coming." "Nonsense. We never argue." Sarah hugged me. "Right, honey?" I mumbled something in response. After dinner, Sarah ran to the store, forgot to buy something for work. We were left alone. "How are you?" Carol asked quietly. "Fine, you?" "You're lying, I can see it." "What should I say? That I can't sleep? That every time I hug your daughter, I remember—" "Don't," she interrupted me. "We agreed to forget." "And how's that working for you?" "It's not," she turned to the window. "I can't sleep either." At that moment, the front door slammed. Sarah returned. "What are you whispering about?" She kissed my cheek. "Nothing." Carol poured herself some wine. "Nothing at all." Later that evening, at home, Sarah said, "It's so nice that you and Mom have become friends." I almost choked. "You used to be so tense with each other. Now you're like kindred spirits." "Sarah?" "What?" "I can see how you understand each other without words." If only she knew. At night, a message came. "We need to talk. Tomorrow, alone. We met in a small cafe on the other side of town. Carol chose a corner table. I'm requesting a transfer, she said instead of greeting, to the Seattle branch. What? It's better this way, for everyone. You're running away. No, I'm saving us from ourselves. She looked exhausted. Shadows lay under her eyes. What about Sarah? I'll say it's a promotion. She'll understand. She's always understood my work. Carol, don't, she raised her hand. Listen, what happened, it was beautiful and terrible, but most importantly, it was a mistake. I know. Do you? Because I'm not sure, because every time I see you, I want to make that mistake again. I was silent. What could I say? And you feel the same way. She looked straight into my eyes. I can see it. Sarah will notice soon. She's not stupid. And you think running away will solve everything? No, but it will give us a chance to forget. What if I don't want to forget? Adam, her voice broke. Don't do this. Don't destroy the family. Haven't we already? No, not yet. We have a choice. She took out her phone, showed me the transfer letter. I've already signed. I leave in a week. So soon? The sooner the better. We sat in silence. It was raining outside, just like that night. You know, she finally said, sometimes I think maybe in another life. Don't. Yes, you're right. Don't. She stood up. Goodbye, Adam. Be happy with Sarah. She's good. And you? Me? I'll be painting Seattle landscapes. She leaned down, lightly kissed my cheek. Thank you for that night of revelations, and sorry for everything. After she left, I sat for a long time, looking out the window. My phone chimed, a message from Sarah. Can you believe it? Mom got a promotion, moving to Seattle. When you get home, let's celebrate. I stared at the screen thinking, sometimes the biggest lie is the one that saves everyone. And outside, the rain kept falling. Did you like the story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.